Okay, go ahead.
Okay, hey guys. So I want to ask. We got Winston, Wu here, and Ladislav. I want to ask, just each person. I want to ask Ladislav to, where are you in the world right now? And for anyone who doesn't know you, just kind of a
Well,
little bit about you.
I'm in Palm Springs, California right now. That's it, basically. I just got back from Mexico. I was there for 3 weeks. The reason I'm in Palm Springs, California is because of COVID and my mother lives here and I kind of own part of this house here. So I came out here, basically.
All right. So how is California right now? You like it?
It's very hot. It's very hot where I'm at. The weather is really hot, and there's really, there's not much to do here in Palm Springs. It's dead.
Like, well, I mean, it's there's beaches. There's a lot of outdoor things you can do in California.
Well, a lot of them, but right now I'm not driving and getting somewhere, to the beach and stuff. First of all, the water is not going to be warm enough for swimming anyway. So right now, because I don't have a car and I don't have a job because of this COVID, so I'm not really going anywhere. I mean, there's a swimming pool here and all this.
So let me ask you: would you recommend people live in California? Is it a nice place to live?
Yes, if they have a job, well, it's like it depends what kind of people. It's like what kind of people. If it's a female, yeah, I'd certainly recommend that you come out here because you'll have dates of the yin yang. Now, if you're a man with, let's say, a good job, making maybe 100K a year, it's also not, maybe 100K. Like up in San Francisco, you need like half a million to live okay, to buy a house and all this. So it really depends on your income level, whether you're a male or female. But generally, if you're a male, it's not a good place to date. It's a good place to come if you already have a family. If you already have your family unit, you come out here and you live with that family. It's not a super duper place to date. There are lots of good looking guys here with a lot of money, so the competition is super. But if you're a female, then you're gonna have a field day.
Right. But
Yeah,
when
unless you
when
have family and you can just stay with your family there,
And
of
that's what a
course.
lot of people do. You see a lot of immigrants here. Men don't usually, like foreign men or immigrant men that come to California, do not usually date local women. They come out with their families already. So, like Mexicans already have a wife. Like these Chinese already have a wife. So a lot of people already come out. And this is one pattern I've noticed, that the ones that are really happy here are already settled with families. It's not a good place for men to date, especially if they're like non mainstream men with not a lot of money.
right, how about meeting people? Just going out and walking around and meeting people.
Huh. It really depends on who and what you are. Like I think if you're a female, pretty young female, it'll be very easy for you to meet people. Second, if you're gay, it'll be very easy for you to meet people. If you're just an average straight male, it won't be. Okay. I mean, it's like it's not the custom here to just walk up and talk to strangers unless it's within some kind of environment. Like, you want to get a haircut and you're talking to the hairdresser, you're talking to a waiter, chatting to a waiter. Things like that, probably, but nothing like walking up to people and talking to them. That's like more along the lines of Mexico. In Mexico, you can do that.
Wow, so it's very cliquish, huh?
It's just not, it's just not the custom here. You go to parties, you go to different activities. They have a whole bunch of There's so many activities where you can meet people, and just you could. But the thing is this, the constant is always the same. There are more young men than women, and there are more good-looking men than there are good-looking women. It's a constant. It's just a constant. It's like, that's a constant all over the USA.
Yeah. Do you think North and South California are the same thing, or I mean, are s- are different, or
I didn't see
how would
much
you compare?
difference. I didn't see much difference. I just, when I went to North California, it seemed to be a little bit more kind of like East Coastish, but still the same constant remains. If you're a young man, and a young woman will get a boyfriend, but a young man will not necessarily get a girlfriend. Competition is key. Up there, down below, it's the same thing when all boils down to just dating. So what I'm saying is this again, keep in mind that this is an opinion based on an observation by one person, myself. And you could talk to someone else and they'll have a whole different impression. They'll have a whole different experience and they'll just advise you a completely different thing.
How long have you lived in California?
I would say normal. I would say that on the ground, I spent maybe 6 years, 6.5.
Okay. What brought you there? I mean, can you talk
Um,
about your background or?
okay. Well, what brought me here was my parents were living on the East Coast in New York, and they were getting, because of the weather, they were getting constant colds and getting sick all the time, because of either the flu and this and that and the other. And I kind of told them that I was going to move out here and check out the climate. So after, I went out here and I found the climate to be really good. And also there were lots of jobs. And, I found a job and I told my parents to come out here because the weather was great. And they came out here and they stopped getting sick.
What about your background? I mean, do you want to say where you were born and what your ethnic
Well,
background
maybe
is?
I should. I mean, what does that, why is that necessary right now? I mean, let's just stay with.
Oh, okay, okay, that's fine. Do you have any other questions, Andrew, or do you want to talk about Asia or the U.S. still?
Well,
Or?
okay, well, we talk about Mexico. Where were you at in Mexico?
Okay, right now I came back, I explored two cities. I explored Puebla and I explored Mexico. Well, actually three: Mexico City, Puebla, and Cholula. These three.
Okay, and
So I spent 3 weeks there, and but the trip to Puebla and Cholula were basically the trip was only like, I don't know, one day just to check it out.
what did you like the most about Mexico?
Okay, probably what I like most is it's very socially pleasant. Shall I say, for example, the people are extremely polite. In Mexico City in that central Mexican area, they all seem to have they seem to be very civilized in the way they behave. Very courteous. You don't see like people fighting or arguing or yelling at each other. They're extremely nice to each other. So, and also, there's no xenophobia, meaning people are not afraid of strangers. So, for example, I found it very easy to walk up to people in a park, for example, and just strike up a conversation. And it's just normal. Smile at people, talk to them, and there's absolutely no ulterior motive. There's no suspicion of you having an ulterior motive. It's a very, it's a society that is rather, uh, advanced socially speaking. Meaning, like for example, I remember I was walking down an alley, and it was just kind of like a narrow alley, and there were two ladies walking towards me, and one was like a grandma, maybe she was 52, 53, and then her daughter was with her. And I just walked up to them and I started a conversation, and I just started talking about this and that and the other, and they weren't afraid of me. Now, if this were a big city like Los Angeles, and you got two women walking down a lonely alley, and a man walks up to them, that'd be fear in their eyes. But there's no fear there. So it's generally a safe place. They're used to talking to strangers. It's very nice, and then also it's pretty homogenous culturally. It's 99% Mexican, as you say, as you know. So at the same time, um, you don't really stand out as a foreigner there, because in that part of Mexico, there are so many different Mexicans of different uh, ethnic backgrounds. You have Mexicans of Irish descent, people who are of German descent. Of course, like the main bulk are mestizos, half Spanish, half Indian. But at the same time, you don't stick out. People don't assume you're a foreigner the way they would assume it in Asia. So everybody talks to you in Spanish. People call you caballero, they call you senor. You're just, so you kind of feel kind of included when you are there. It's very pleasant.
Let me ask you, that's a lot of good information. Let me ask you, how about safety? Did you feel safe?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, the thing is this: a lot of this Mexican crime is hyped up by the media, primarily because of this frontier area here between California and Mexico. This they call that area La Frontera, and it's a very bad area, very bad area. It's like saying, let's look at Los Angeles, and in Los Angeles you've got Beverly Hills, and then you've got Watts. So I'd say, or like in New York, you've got Fifth Avenue, and then you've got the South Bronx, right? So that whole area is kind of like the South Bronx of Mexico. It's a dump. It's not a good area. You shouldn't go there. But but most of Mexico is up on a plateau about 7,000 feet above sea level. So when you get to Mexico City, it's all above sea level, and it's like 2.2 kilometers, which is 7,000 feet, basically. I would say, yeah, 7,000 feet. And it's very nice and cool. And the trees, the plants are all of temperate, type. And then you go up, and then there are pine forests everywhere. But returning to that, what you said, the feeling of safety, yes, I felt totally safe. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I was reading that there's over 1 million Americans who live in Mexico. That was interesting.
Oh,
So
yeah. And
sure.
11 million Mexicans living in the US. Yeah. Yeah. So it's, it's an exchange, quite an exchange. But the thing is, a lot of Americans, they don't really live in Mexico City. They live in these retiree communities around like Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas, all these, mainly. And then there's a Lake Toluca, which is a beautiful lake. And, there's a whole community of Americans living there. So it's very helpful, and other people will be helpful and nice to you.
Yeah, so Mexico sounds like a good place as long as you just stay out of the bad areas.
Exactly. But and that goes for a lot of places. But the thing is, once you get out of this whole frontier, the frontier strip, shall I call it? It's just a strip, kind of like Gaza Strip. And you go on to what they call Mero Mexico. Mero Mexico, it means Mexico itself. And you get to like, Puebla. You get to places like, where else did we go? I forgot. Uh, no, we just Mexico City and all these smaller towns, Querétaro, Oaxaca. They're all very safe towns in which nothing happens. I think the most crime will be pickpocketing, or if you leave your hotel room unattended, some cleaner might come in and pilfer something. That can happen. Like not all, like I had a ring, and then someone just one day it just disappeared. I suspect someone took it from my room and I left it open. Things like that can happen, but luckily the ring was only like $10.
Sure. Winston, did you want to ask anything?
Oh no, that's fine. Well, I did have one question. Is the social vibe in Mexico very similar to the Philippines? I mean, can you
Okay,
compare or contrast?
that's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. Okay, let's start with one thing. Okay, first of all, English isn't much spoken in Mexico. Okay, it's a Spanish speaking country, period. So when you are there, you better speak Spanish. Okay, and I do. Okay, so to me, it just shows a whole different face. As far as, let's assume that you don't have the language problem. I mean, yes, you could find English speaking friends eventually. There are many Mexicans that speak English, but that's not mainstream. That's an exception to the rule. But assuming that you have this group of people that you can communicate with. As far as being in the Philippines versus being in Mexico, I would say, and if by social life you mean ability to date local females, I'd say the Philippines wins hands down.
Okay, but
Oh,
they both have that laid back, chill vibe,
oh
right? That
yes. I mean, as far as
easygoing.
not
Yeah.
feeling lonely, both places will basically rid you of your loneliness. They'll cure you of it. Okay, there's no loneliness in Mexico, or being kind of detached from society, being left alone. No such thing exists, similar to the Philippines.
Oh,
Now,
that's great.
as far as you dating local women, the Philippines is very easy because they like foreigners a lot. And if you, let's say, go to a department store and slip a lady a number, you see some cute sales lady, you give her your number, then you meet her. Okay, in the Philippines, it's very easy. Within a week, you generally have, a lady who is interested in you. Now in Mexico, well, it's going to be a lot more difficult, a lot more. Um, First of all, most will not speak English, period. So you need to speak Spanish. Then, let's say, assuming you speak Spanish, Mexico is a lot more conservative than the Philippines. A lot of them more, it's a lot more Catholic. A lot of Mexican women, they want to have a very serious relationship, and they want that relationship to lead to marriage, blah, blah, blah. It's not a place where you go to flirt, as you do in the Philippines, as one does in the Philippines. A lot of guys just like dating one girl, dating another girl, and going out with another bunch of girls, blah, blah, blah. So in Mexico, it's not going to happen. It's just a lot more old fashioned, shall I say. Now, the problem in Mexico I don't know if you call it a problem, but if you're older, like if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, it won't be as easy dating younger females unless you look very young yourself. Whereas in the Philippines, your age does not matter for the most part. But in Mexico, it does. So there's no 18-year-old girls dating 45-year-old men. It's just not happening. 20-year-old girls dating 60-year-old men. But in the Philippines, they are. Okay, they just don't care about your age. But in Mexico, they would.
I'm ready to go to Mexico. Winston, or you want to go to Mexico?
Oh yeah, it sounds really interesting. I mean, it sounds great. I mean, at least you're never lonely there or something, um, and it has that really chill vibe. And I just gotta wonder, why don't more Americans just move there or retire there and just have fun rather than we're working this stressful job every day in America just to pay bills. It never made any sense to me.
Well, okay, I'll explain to you why. Generally, I think there's this reputation thing to deal with because a lot of them think that Mexico is dangerous. A lot of them feel that Mexicans belong to a different civilization. Basically, they speak Spanish, and they feel that Mexicans will be hostile if they speak English to them. Most Americans do not speak Spanish in this language thing, plus the fact that most of them are of different color, which is brown. A lot of Americans are just racist, too racist to consider living among them. They feel that the place is unstable, it's not English speaking, and that you could be cheated. If not, and they hear these stories about people getting killed. But again, all of that happens in this frontier strip, which is a very dangerous neighborhood in Mexico. Mexicans themselves don't like to go there.
But just once again, that frontier strip, where is that exactly? It's in Mexico City
The
or
frontier area.
frontier area. Okay.
Oh no, no, that's like, if you look at this whole area, like maybe 10, 15 miles from the border of California, Arizona, and Texas, that's the frontier area.
Okay, got it. So
It's not Mexico City. Mexico City is like, and another thing, you're in Mexico City, even though the United States is a neighboring country, you hardly see any influence of the United States there. It might as well just be, 5, 6, 7,000 miles away. There's nothing there from the United States. I mean, except the usual Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and all that. But I'm just saying, culturally speaking, like in the Philippines, it's a lot more. You can feel a lot more American influence in everything, in the buildings, in the way people act, the clothes they wear, the way they talk, the English, and all this. So in the Philippines, it's a lot more American, whereas in Mexico, it's not. Outside of the frontier zone.
in Mexico, it's a lot more about family there. They're very family oriented there. Uh, it's
Yes, family and friends. Family and friends.
sure. So they're tight knit there. It's
Yeah, but it's open. It's open to you if you want to fit, if you want to break into it, but through marriage or by becoming a friend of the family. And these are not like closed cliques, they're open. It's close knit, but you're welcome to, knit yourself into it.
Is it easy to find English speakers there?
You see, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know because I don't speak English when I go there. But I would
Well,
assume that since a lot of people go and live there and they mainly associate with English speaking Mexicans and other English speaking expats, So I guess if you live in the expat communities and you hang out with those people, then slowly you build that circle. But I would say that it's fairly easy.
Wow, that's good to know. I mean,
I
at
mean,
least
it's not like
and
you
even
can't
if they
like
don't, you can use Google Translate
you can
nowadays.
use Google Translate. You know what? You find ways. You improvise. It's like you find ways. It's just that again, I'll brag to you guys that I'm very proud that I'd learned Spanish when I was 22, 23 years old, that I attended my university studies in Spanish being the medium of instruction. So to me, it was a thing. Like for you, Winston, to go to China, you go there, you're not looking for English speakers there, right? You speak
Right.
Chinese. Yeah, same with me
Uh,
in Mexico. I go there and I just, revert to my Spanish speaking self.
okay. And I remember you told me that you speak like 9 languages or something, and you've lived in
All
9 countries.
different levels of fluency.
Wow.
The functional probably, I could function in pretty much pretty much, maybe seven, eight of them I could basically function in society on pretty much all levels, but not always as far as reading goes. Now in Spanish it'll be reading and writing too.
Wow, Andrew, have you ever met anyone that's spoken 9 languages? That's a lot.
Uh,
I mean,
Uh,
that's,
yeah,
I met people that had a lot more money than me. I'd gladly exchange all those languages for a neat pile of cash.
but Ladislav, you're like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of expat living and culture comparison.
Yeah, but I'm not rich. That's my problem. Okay, I wish I had a. I wish
But
I
you're
had
rich
more
in heart
money.
and soul, right? And experience
Yeah, but
and wisdom.
you can't buy much from that heart and soul, man. They want cash, dude.
uh, Ladislav, I wanted to ask you any other experience that you have in other Latin American countries.
Well, okay, I'll tell you this. I've been to Nicaragua. I've been to Costa Rica. I've been to Argentina. I've been to Brazil. So yeah, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Brazil, Argentina, what other country? Yeah, Jesus Christ. No, none. I didn't go to Honduras. I didn't go to El Salvador. Didn't go to Guatemala. And Puerto Rico, of course. Puerto Rico. Now, Puerto Rico is not a good place unless you are young and rich. If you're this rich young man, let's say under 33, maybe, with a nice car, okay, then it's a pretty good place. You'll find a girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. You'll be hanging out. You'll have an excellent life there. Okay, that's it. If you're past that age, already like approaching 40, you're not rich, you don't have a nice car and a nice job, it's not a good place. It's very expensive. Feminism is quite strong there. Misandry, hatred for men, is also quite strong, unless you're this attractive young man with a nice car. But otherwise, if you discount those social problems, you're not looking for a job and you're not looking for a girlfriend after 40, you being after 40, it's a pretty neat place. It's got gorgeous beaches, it's got really good food, it's got a lot of conveniences, and you don't need a visa because it's a U.S. territory, not a state. They think they have a country. Americans don't think they have a country, but Puerto Ricans believe that they have a country. They call their island a country, a nation, blah blah blah, which is bullshit. Then, as far as beautiful, like really good smells, very fresh air, nice air from the ocean. Smells of seaweed, smells of iodine. It's a very very good place. It's got really good architecture and all this. But don't go there poor, because you won't find anything there. The unemployment is like 35%, and they won't hire a non Puerto Rican for only small jobs, unless you're a doctor or something, and then they'll respect you and shit. Um, okay, those are the conveniences. The food is good. Everything you eat is delicious, and there's the views, the architecture is great, and you can use your U.S. everything there. It's got all the U.S. amenities, blah blah blah. It's like the Virgin Islands. Now, the other countries I've been to, like for example, Nicaragua. Nicaragua is rather cheap. Oh, I've been to the Dominican Republic. Okay, the Dominican Republic, it's more like a mulatto country. The people there are half black and half Spanish. So there's no Indian element like in a lot of other countries in Latin America or like in Mexico where you have the strong Indian, American Indian. It's mostly half black, half white. It's a cheap country. It's rather cheap, about as cheap as the Philippines, maybe like 3 times cheaper than the US. The food is rather, ouch. The food is very oily and fried. It's not that great. The capital, Santo Domingo, is very beautiful. It's gorgeous. A lot of places to explore, a lot of old forts, a lot of old buildings. Everything is Spanish. It's great. Okay, it's great. As far as getting a girlfriend there, I think it's easier. It's a lot easier than in Puerto Rico because if you go online and you start looking for Dominican ladies, you'll find a lot of them. They're all over the place. So sooner or later, if you date for about a month and a half, you'll get a girl. The problem that I found there was visas. They're never clear how do you get a visa there. It's just they give you a tourist card for 1 month, and supposedly after that 1 month, you're illegal in the country and you need to pay a fine when you go out. It's kind of weird, and no one ever seems to tell me, give me like a definitive answer in how you get these 3 month visas or 6 month visas. Nobody knows. So I spent about a week there and then I left. Now it's pretty homogenous again, kind of like everybody's a mulatto, everybody's half black, half Spanish. Then I was in Nicaragua, and in Nicaragua they're all like half Indian, half Spanish, kind of like Mayan Indian, very short, and it's very cheap. It's the same price as the Dominican Republic or the Philippines. It's very quiet, and it's got this population of only maybe 4 million people, and it's the size of Florida. So you don't really see that many people, but outside it looks like a savanna, like the savanna in Africa, and it's got volcanoes and all that. The cities are kind of boring. There's really nothing much to do, but there are quite a few pretty girls, half Indian, half Spanish, and if you get online, nowadays you could find and locate quite a few candidates. There are all these Nicaragua girls. They're online. It's just that the population is small. Then you have Costa Rica. Costa Rica is one of the richest countries there, so a lot of them are very stuck up. They're also more light skinned than the other Latin Americans, so that also makes them stuck up. And they've been flooded with tourists, so they're not as friendly to a tourist. The tourists, you often annoy them. More of an annoyance rather than a friend, and they try and rip you off. I didn't like it, but prostitution there, like for those people who I don't, who enjoy having, a role in the hay, apparently it's legal. I've never availed myself of their services, but apparently they have all these legal brothels, just like in Las Vegas. Don't quote me on that. And people go there, and there are lots and lots of them there. So, and the population is a little bit higher than Nicaragua, but and also lots of forest there. I wasn't impressed by the beaches. They were not clean and they were very hot. But the actual capital is high in the mountains, so it's a cool place, and the architecture is also quite good, quite nice, to walk around and all this. And as far as meeting a girlfriend, I see, if you get online, you'll see lots of Costa Rican females. Even like I went to a park and I talked to some ladies there in the park. It was quite easy to chat them up, form a relationship with them. Not like a very romantic one, but at least a communication. So, yeah, so what else? But the thing is, in a lot of these countries, the only thing they want from you is your money. And if you want to stay there, you need to pay for the visas. And once you get that money together and the visas together, everything else falls into place. Everything else falls into place sooner or later.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Hey, I do have another question about Mexico. I mean, why does it have a reputation as being really dangerous? I mean, usually where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Yes, absolutely. But remember that the reputation of being dangerous is from the United States. Like if you go to Nicaragua or if you go to any Latin American country or Brazil, and if you say Mexico, it will not, bring on the association with danger. Now, let's say, for example, I'm in Guatemala and I'm talking to Guatemalans, or I'm in Costa Rica and I say, "Oh, I'm going to Mexico to a Costa Rican." He won't say, "Oh shit, this must be really dangerous." No one will say that. No one.
But why does America want you to think that it's dangerous?
Okay, first of all, my theory is number one, a lot of Mexican people that come to the United States, they come from poor classes. Okay? They come from poor classes and they're very poor people. So a lot of very, shall I say, unsavory elements settle in that area between the United States and Tijuana and all those border towns. And also there's a lot of drug trafficking going on because the drugs flow from Mexico to the United States through these towns. So these are bad areas. Now people, they kind of, shall I say, identify those areas with the entire of Mexico, with the entire country of Mexico. It's like coming to the United States, going to say, Watts, or, give me some dangerous place, some bad neighborhood. Okay, the South Bronx. So you came to the United States from Japan and you took a subway to South Bronx, and now you're walking around there and you're getting approached by all kinds of gangsters and thieves. They want to rob you, they want to kill you. Everybody is really, really bad. So then you'll probably say that America is a dangerous country because you're cherry picked a bad area. Now, because very few Americans go to the, farther inland where the Mexico proper begins, they kind of associate Mexico with danger, not with the danger they have at the border. That's one thing. Here's another theory that I have, that generally Americans don't like Catholics. Okay? Americans are mostly, the American elite is Protestant. They don't like Catholics. They don't like Catholic countries. And they don't want to praise them. You never hear, almost never hear, maybe France, people say good things about Paris and all this, maybe Italy a little bit. But as far as just, anything Catholic, they don't like that country. Okay? If it's Catholic. That's why the Philippines gets all this bad rap. But that's just my theory that Protestants don't like Catholics. Period. And they'll just slander and they'll find something bad to say about anything Catholic.
Well,
So
you don't
that's my point.
You don't think it's because there might be some type of like intention or maybe a conspiracy to keep
No, it's
Americans
no,
out of the third
because
world?
the thing is, no. Okay, generally, okay, that's snobbery, but it's also the neighborly. The thing is, ouchie, it's kind of hard to say, but basically, it's yeah, that element too, but it's just, Protestant Catholic probably eclipses them all. And the skin color also eclipses them all. When was the last time Americans would say something good about a country where people were darker than they are? You know what I'm saying? Darker or
Yeah.
Protestant. So it's never one thing. It's never one factor. It's a combination of factors.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I guess bad news sells too, and the bad apples get the
Yes,
most attention.
exactly. Exactly. And it makes people feel better about themselves. People don't want to hear, excuse me, I got a stuffy nose. People don't want to hear of a brown country that is Catholic and that is a good place to live in. They don't want to hear it.
Well, they don't say any other country is a good place to live. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's kind of like if you start showing good things about all these brown Catholic people, I don't think Americans want to see it.
Okay, so there's a little bias against it.
Isn't
But
Yeah, so
Mexico
it's a
Catholic?
combination. It's like, people think, people want to simplify things like, it's the result of one cause. It's not that. It's always a combination of factors.
but American movies always portray Italy in a very positive light. Like they make it look really fun and passionate and
Only for a tourist. But again, on the other hand, Italians are all mafioso. It's kind of like, yeah, there were some American movies about this American lady going to Italy and falling in love. There were a couple of them, just kind of touristy. But the thing is, the rivalry, the war between the United States and Mexico, these are still not friends. These are enemies, passively speaking.
right. So can you just stay in Mexico indefinitely or
Okay, good
without a
question
visa?
about the visa. Okay, very good question. Okay. So let's start with the whole visa thing. Now don't quote me on that. I'm not an immigration attorney. I could just, I'll just tell you what I know. It used to be just like with Canada that a US citizen could just walk across the border and stay for 6 months, walk out and walk back in. Okay, it used to be that way. Now, okay, since I think 2016, they put up a border crossing with the proper immigration booth, and you walk in, and then you pay like $35 or something tourist card, and supposedly you can stay up to 180 days. So you can stay up to 6 months. But now it's totally at the discretion of the immigration officer. If you fly into Mexico City, they can give you up to 180, but they may not want to. So in Mexico City, they give you 90 days, 70 days. But supposedly, from what I've heard, and again, don't quote me on that, if you walk across from Tijuana or you walk across from Mexicali, these towns, you walk into the country, they usually give you 180 days, although it's not guaranteed. What they're trying to do is crack down on these perpetual tourists who live on tourist visas. Some people have been doing it for 20 years, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, and buying houses there, and living a life, and it was just not. They're cracking down on that, and what they want. They want people to get permanent visas, and for that you need to either show that you have a job in the states, making maybe what 3,000 a month, or you have savings in excess of 35,000 dollars. So if you have $35,000 in the bank, and you go there and you show them that they'll give you a 1 year visa. It's like resident visa, and after that they extend it by 4 years, and then you apply for citizenship. But normally it's now totally at the discretion of an immigration officer, but it seems like now you can no longer live as a tourist there indefinitely. They no longer want that.
And there's no COVID restrictions either, right?
Zero, nothing.
Wow,
I
that's
wonder.
great.
I wonder why that is. They
Because they were smart, okay? And they just figured, oh wow, let's keep our tourists who are going to come here and bring a lot of money. They were just being wise.
hmm.
And they're not uptight either.
No, they're not. But when I came in 2020, it was like August, July, August. That was June 2020, and I went there. They only measured temperature at the airport. And they still do that a little bit in some places. You walk in, there's a thermometer. You look into that thermometer, and they tell you what temperature you are, and that's it.
Winston, didn't you say you had a friend who lives in Mexico?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a guy from my forum that does, and I know some people that have been there. But I don't remember the town he lives in. It's called Guadalajara or something like that.
Guadalajara.
Guadalajara.
Yeah, he said it's really nice there.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I heard is that Mexico is not a dating paradise like the Philippines, but it's a lot better than the U.S. for men, at least.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's not like dating. You see, like in the Philippines, a lot of guys just serial date. They date 10 girls. They date 20 girls. Like there's this inexhaustible supply of ladies to date. Like okay, so they turn their sojourn in the Philippines into this serial dating, venture or something, and if the shoe fits, wear it, haha. But in Mexico, it's just not done. I mean, it's like you can't like move into town and start dating 10, 20 girls, even in Mexico City. You can meet one, you can start a relationship, okay, and you better speak Spanish. You start a romance the old-fashioned way, and you probably stick with that person. But in the States, you may never meet one. Period, zero. So it's kind of let's compare. In the States, zero, Mexico 1, Philippines 20 for a lot of guys.
One
You
thing I
know what
wanted
I'm
to ask.
saying? It's still better. It's still better. All the guys get a girlfriend in that country.
One thing I wanted to ask is just switching to something else. The healthcare. I've heard that Mexico has a public healthcare system. Is that true?
Okay, well, for this, I don't know seriously because I haven't prepared to be an expat in Mexico, but they do have some kind of system that apparently you may be able to pay into. Now, as far as my real healthcare, okay, I went there actually this time. I had a mole on my chest and it was growing. It was this big brown mole. So I had it cut out for $145. Okay, so and that was in a hospital, like a hospital with doctors and all this, a clinic. Went to a clinic, and actually they made me lie on a table, an operation table, and they cut it out. And it cost me $145. Now, here's what here's the main advantage of Mexico. First of all over town you got pharmacies. Pharmacies. Everywhere you go, there's a pharmacy. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Every pharmacy has its own doctor. So basically, you got this pharmacy on the street corner. It looks like, it's not big. It's not like in the US, you got this big, what pharmacy? Like CVS pharmacy. It's not like that. It's just like a corner store. It's a small pharmacy. And then, kind of like in the Philippines. But here's the funny thing. Right next to the pharmacy and attached to that pharmacy is a doctor's office. So every pharmacy has a doctor attached to it, which is a great idea. Now, what you do is you get to the pharmacy, and let's say you need a prescription medicine of some kind. So you just go and see the doctor. You walk in there, and they show you that corridor that goes all the way down to the doctor. You go to the doctor's office. There's a little office. The doctor sees you. You explain your problem, and the doctor prescribes you a drug. A drug. Like, for example, you need tranquilizers. You can get one. You need high blood pressure medication. You get it. You need antibiotics. You can get those too. Now, how much is it to see a doctor? It's about $3 or something, almost free because
Wow,
yes, sir. Okay, so
that's
you don't need
amazing.
a so basically the system in the States is like this. You go see a doctor. If you don't have insurance, you pay 115, 120, from 95 to 100 to see that doctor. Then what does the doctor do? Prescribes you medicine. Prescribes you, and then you go and you get it at a pharmacy, which is in another part of town usually. Now, in Mexico, it's that pharmacy that has the doctor. So it costs you $5 to see that, even less sometimes. It costs you $5 or $4 to see the doctor. He just, examines you and stuff. Then you just walk out of his office and you go to the counter to get your medicine. And then off you go. Smart, isn't it? Really clever. Now, as far as the actual cost of the medicine, I would give you, like, last time I got, probably the most expensive would be like $20, but no, most medicines will end up costing you like $4, $5, $6 per pack, whatever, how many are there? Like 30, 40, I don't know. So you go see the doctor for $5, and you go get your medicine for another $15. So the whole thing costs you $20. Okay? How was
Oh,
that?
dang.
$30.
Do a lot of Americans go to Mexico for medical treatments
Oh yes, a
or
lot.
surgery too?
Oh yeah, yes, and dental and everything. But again, it's not as cheap as the Philippines. It's maybe 30% higher. Everything is going to be 30% higher than the Philippines. But then again, how much is the ticket to fly to the Philippines? So, so a lot of people go there. Now, another thing that you probably want to know is the cost of the hotel, taxis, and a meal, right? Probably want to know that. Would you
Yeah, I'd
agree?
imagine it's pretty low, right? I mean,
Okay, let's go. I'll let me quote Mexico City. I stayed in this hotel and I paid roughly between 35 to $40 a night. And it was in a central part of town, maybe a mile something away from the very downtown. Okay, but also central part, not far from restaurants, not far from all these places. If you get a car, if you get a taxi, a metered taxi, So go about a mile. It'll probably cost you like $1.10, $1.20 per mile. Okay. So, which is really not a lot. If you get Uber, it'll probably end up costing you maybe $2 a mile. Now, how many miles to go per day? Maybe 10 or 5? Think about that. Then you have the metro. I don't remember how much that is. Let's see, 5, maybe 10 pieces, maybe like 50 cents to take the metro, and it takes you all around the city to all the major stations. To take the bus is about, just try and see, maybe it's 12 cents to take the bus around. Also takes you to all the different places. Okay, 12, yeah, 12 cents. Um, then now I have to admit that the hotel that I was staying at did not have air conditioning. It had a fan because Mexico City is not hot. It's usually a fan is enough, but it was still getting a little bit hotter. If it were maybe with a fan, I mean with a proper air conditioning, maybe it would cost you like 45, $50 a night. But remember, that's in the downtown area, okay? In the capital city of the country. Now
Oh,
imagine Washington, D.C. Can you get a hotel for $45, $50 a night in the downtown area? Probably not.
no. So if you go a little farther from downtown, then it would be less then, right?
Oh, yeah, a lot less. You're talking like $20, $25 with air conditioning and Wi Fi. Well, maybe $30. Now remember, Mexico is not the Philippines. But even in Manila, you're talking like 1,500 to stay in a small room in downtown in the downtown area, right? So it's like $30. It's a little bit cheaper. So I'd say Mexico is maybe 30% more expensive than the Philippines in everything. But also remember the cost. Now, another thing about Mexico that I liked a lot is that taxi drivers and all of these people that take you around, they don't rip you off.
Oh, they don't?
You don't have, like, in Mexico, you get into a taxi, like in the Philippines, you get into a taxi, immediately they refuse to use the meter, or they forget to use the meter. They ask you to add money. They have this, there. So it's constant swindling, cheating, constant scamming. It's just daily in the Philippines. Whereas in Mexico, well, it might happen, but it's very rare. Usually, you get into a taxi, he turns on the meter, you go home, you pay him, and that's it. You give him a small tip, maybe 10, 15%, but it's not required. I usually give him like almost like a 50%, because they were nice guys, and usually they don't rip you off the way Filipinos do. In the Philippines, cheating, swindling, and ripping people off is just a daily thing. It happens several times a day, every day.
But
Okay.
that's in Manila mostly, right? In Angeles City.
Yeah, in
I'm.
Baguio it doesn't happen, but in Manila and in Cebu it's a daily thing.
Oh,
In
they do that
Baguio
in
it
Cebu
doesn't
too. I
happen.
didn't know that.
In Baguio it doesn't happen that much. They're very honest. Just generally those areas. But still, it's always like I have no change. I forgot to use the meter. I will not. But in Baguio they were honest. In Baguio they were honest. So, but remember, Mexico City is the capital. So the people are supposed to be, not honest, but they were honest.
Okay, what are the chances of getting mugged in Mexico? I mean, do tax? I
Uh,
heard. What about those stories where tax? I mean, do taxis ever kidnap people or?
all of those things happened in the frontier area here, the bad area. You never hear about those things happening in Mexico City. It's very civilized. It's a normal place. This place around here in the frontier area is abnormal. It's an exception to the rule. It's a warp.
Okay, so that would be like Tijuana or what was that town across from El Paso, Texas? I forgot. There's a town across from there.
Juarez, Ciudad Juarez or something.
Yeah, I mean that was okay. It seemed, but Tijuana seemed like it was just very wild and raunchy, like anything goes. That type of
Well,
vibe.
again, Tijuana is not the entire Mexico. Okay? It's not.
Yeah, so Tijuana is like Angeles City or something.
Yes, it's an anomaly. It's not the entire. It's not the entire country. It's anomalous.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Tijuana, it didn't feel that safe. I mean, not even as safe as Angeles City. It just had that anything goes type of vibe. Like,
Yeah, I will say Mexicans don't go to Tijuana. Okay, it's dangerous up there.
oh, yeah, I mean, I thought the whole country was like that, but fortunately,
So
it's
did
not.
I. But once you get out of there, you see it's the complete opposite. And this is one of the reasons people don't want to go there. They think that's like Tijuana, like one giant Tijuana, and it's
Yeah,
not.
but there's a lot of sexy, ladies there
I
in
didn't think
Tijuana.
so. I didn't think so. Again, the Filipinos are a lot cuter, a lot more beautiful. Plus, they're
Yeah,
still.
and I noticed the attitude in Tijuana wasn't as good, but there were a few. I mean, there were some good ones that had a good attitude, but not. But most of
Yeah.
them seemed kind of jaded and cold
Yes,
and all
again, it's
business.
not it's not indicative of Mexico. It's an anomaly. It's an anomalous town. Okay, now here's another funny thing. Okay, here's another thing to keep in mind: the obesity. And and if you go down to Mexico, it's a fat country. A lot of fat people, including the girls. Everybody's carrying a spare tire. Everybody. So you find these cute girls, and they got this big. Sometimes you look at the people, and look down the street, and you see some women, and they look like their butt is as big as that of a rhino.
Uh-huh.
It's like a rhino's butt. You've seen rhinos in these movies about nature, like these videos about, wildlife reserves. Imagine a rhino's butt or a hippo's butt. That's what they look like. You see these enormous haunches, enormous buttocks. Everywhere you go, there's obesity. Something that does not exist in the Philippines as a rule. You have some chubby people, but it's only chubby. In Mexico, they're fat, man. They're like real fat.
The
According
food
to me.
is the food is so good.
Yeah, the food is good, and but it's just that before they used to work in the field, and now they mostly sit at home, so they got fat. It's a high calorie diet designed for people working in the field to burn those calories, and now it's shucks. All of
Isn't
that
it genetics too, or
is that could be, but mainly they just eat a lot more than they burn. They didn't used to. If you look at all these old Mexican photos, they all look slim. You look at them and they're all fat. They just don't work as much physically as they used to. They don't walk a lot. No, they don't walk as much as they used to.
Mhm.
Sure,
does
yes.
Gentlemen,
T?
it's been a gentleman. It's been an hour. So if you have, I really need to go out. If you have some other questions, I'll be happy to, talk for another 5 minutes. But I've got things to do. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, it's been great. Do you have any other questions, Andrew, or?
Well, I've got one, but I wanted to ask you, Winston, if you wanted to ask him any more questions.
Well, I guess the only question I had left was if you're in Mexico, can you extend a tourist visa or like you
No,
do in the
that's the
Philippines?
problem. That's a good question. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. You need to leave the country and re-enter. It's not like in the Philippines where you can extend. So whether they give you 70 days,
Yeah.
180 days, you cannot extend it. You just can't. It's
Okay,
just
but you
not
can go back to the U.S. and then come back the next day, right?
either the US or you could go down to Guatemala and turn around and come back. However, you run the risk of them giving you as many days as they want. Okay. So, for example, if you go there and you turn around on the same day, you're playing Russian roulette. Some guys got like 1 week. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
They're really laying down the law. They didn't used to do it. It was just automatic. Any American who went there, it was like 180 days, and you walk in and you stay there. You walk out, get another 180 days, and you do it again and again and again, and you spend your entire life there. They used to welcome it. They liked it, and now they're cracking down on it.
Uh-huh. Oh, I do have one more question. Do you think Colombia is a dating paradise like the Philippines is?
I would say it's less so than the Philippines, but it's more so than Mexico. The reason is they don't get that many foreigners in that country. So foreigner is someone a lot more unusual. Okay. Um, Also, they seem to be poorer than Mexico. Okay, so and as you know, poverty or this lack of economic
Oh,
opportunities is
that means it's a little more dangerous too, probably.
it's a little more dangerous. But again, it depends on the place. But it's always when it's a very sad factor. It's a very sad fact or a very sad observation that the poorer the country, the friendlier are the women. The friendlier the women are, and that's just the way it is. Okay. And there's a lot friendlier. So I've heard of people that went there and they dated all these ladies, sales ladies, went to dinner with them, blah, 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 blah. And the guys were, so it's a dating paradise. They also have nightlife with clubs a lot more than Mexico. So if you call that dating, then yeah, it's dating paradise.
Oh, okay, but
Okay, but
it's mostly pay for P for P, right?
in those areas in those clubs, but otherwise it's a little bit. It's better than Mexico, but it's not as good as in the Philippines, based on what I've heard. The thing is, again, in these Latin American countries, once people get past 45, 50, if it's a man and he's not super duper rich to support a mistress, you know what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah.
then, he's out of circulation. No one will take them.
Yeah. Sometime we should get you and Rock on a podcast. I mean, you guys can talk for hours and hours, and
Yeah, the
like you
thing
did in
is,
Manila. Those were
but I
so
can only,
great talks. We should have recorded them.
but I can only answer questions, you know, uh, based on what I know, based on
Yeah, I
what I
mean, but you and Rock have a lot of chemistry when you talk. I mean, you could go for hours and hours. And even Diane fell asleep, while you guys were talking for hours, and because she didn't understand it, of course, but but yeah, you and Rock have amazing chemistry when you talk, and I'd like Andrew to hear that sometime.
Sure. I
It's
Hey,
it's
got one more
it's
question.
almost like Laura and
yeah,
Hardy. They
yeah,
have that
okay, yeah,
chemistry.
yeah. Okay.
It's kind of like Laura and Hardy. They have that chemistry, that unique
Wow.
chemistry. I just kidding.
So what's the question now?
Yeah, okay, it's just my last one is you've been to how many countries have you been to total?
Oh, I've counted probably like upper 30s.
Okay, this is my question. Out of all your world travel experience, if you could only choose one country to live in for the rest of your life, and not leave anywhere, and you had to stay there, which one would it be?
I'd say the Philippines. I'd say the Philippines.
Okay.
Always I'd say the Philippines. I mean, but this is hypothetical. Nothing like that will happen. But if that came to it, like let's say if I were given a verdict, then this is your punishment for the crime you committed. You can only choose one country to live in. And I would say, okay, I'd say the Philippines probably.
Well, why
It's
don't you
like there
just
was
retire there then?
Yeah, it's like there was this movie, it was Omar Sharif playing it in that he was a criminal or something where he got involved with the mafia somewhere in Italy, and they told him, okay, well, you have a choice, and either we'll kill you or we'll jail you, or you go to South America to live, but you can never leave the continent. You can never come back to Europe. You could never go to Asia. You could never visit Africa. You could never visit the United States. You can only stay in Latin America, South America. And that was the verdict. And he chose, and remember, he was like talking, plaintively about the whole situation. He says, I can never leave the continent. I am imprisoned here. So he could stay in Colombia, he could go to Brazil, he could go to Argentina. He could never, ever leave the actual continent. So, and then, that was, but again, that was a work of fiction. No one ever gave that kind of verdict. Now, what you're saying is that someone is going to give that person a verdict that person can only live in one country. It's hypothetical. Nothing like this is about to happen. I mean, it's never happened unless it was like in North Korea, people are locked in. All right, you guys still there?
Yeah, it's really late where Andrew is. I don't know if he's sleepy or not, but
No,
do you have any last
but
question,
yeah,
Andrew? Or
that was my question, and that you said the Philippines is you choose that. Oh, you've been to over 30, and the one country you choose is the Philippines. So that says a lot
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
Philippines.
oh yeah, I would
yeah.
agree with that too. I mean, I would probably pick the Philippines too if it
Because
was
I'll
that it came
explain
to
to
it.
you, it has everything you need. Okay, it's like all those other countries, they're good, but they need to be combined to have a complete picture. Like, for example, the United States is great, absolutely great, if you combine it with another one or two countries, Or let's say Mexico is a good country, but you need to go out and, combine it with one more, for example, something else. But the Philippines does not need to be combined with because it pretty much provides you with everything you need. It's, the food is okay. You can find all kinds of food you want if you look hard enough. You can, as a man, you can find all these beautiful ladies and date them and, have romance. And then you could probably have some kind of business online, and then the visas are relatively easy. And also, the country is not too hot and too cold. You could always, if it's hot, you could always stay up in the mountains near Baguio. If it's too cold, you come down and do it, live on a tropical island. So the Philippines is pretty much complete. It's got all the aspects that you might want. They may not be of highest quality, but they're good enough for you to live a normal life. Whereas, like in the United States, there is always something severe lacking. Or in other
Right.
countries, something like, Japan, a severe, severe lack of something. Whereas in the Philippines, no, and it runs in English.
Yeah, except you have to put up with a lot of like incompetence and
Yes, yes.
infrastructure and
Yeah,
slowness.
allows
Yeah.
you, and that's why it's not perfect. But it's still, if you compare it, like let's say, as Anders said, if you have to choose only one, so even if it's like choosing one, evil out of many evils, The Philippines would still be less
Well,
evil.
because it has a happy vibe. That's the important thing,
Yes.
and the dating paradise thing too.
Yes, and the girls, it's like, how can you live without the opposite sex? Unless
Yeah,
one.
like Cambodia is great too, but it doesn't have that dating paradise.
No, it doesn't. And no,
But
because first of all, there's not that many people there. That's number one. Number two, they're very old fashioned. It's like India, man. But Cambodia, I mean, it's like if I could, I enjoy being there. It's a beautiful country.
yeah, it has a
Beautiful.
nice vibe too.
Yeah, happy vibe, beautiful architecture, great culture. It's like there's so many beautiful streets to walk on with these beautiful French buildings. Everything is colonial. But there's really some guys got girlfriends there. You can get a girlfriend, but there's not that many of them. Like, okay, you get on the Cambodian dating sites, in English. There'll be like maybe 50 girls on them. You get on a Philippine dating site and you're talking like 250,000 girls. You know what I'm saying? It's endless.
Yeah, I mean, you can meet some girls on the ground there too in person, but it's still not a dating paradise.
It's not a paradise at all.
Wait,
Yeah.
can I ask what you think of Vietnam or Thailand? Do you have time to get into that,
Oh, yeah,
or a
okay.
general summary,
Okay.
like a general summary maybe?
Okay. It depends on your race. Like Thai people generally don't like non-Orientals. It's my impression, and this is what they told me many times. They don't, there are some people there, that do. You have all these Western people that went there. They'll say, yeah, but I had a great time, blah, blah, blah. In the Thai society, if you're not an Oriental person, they don't really like you. It's just after a while you realize it's kind of like Hawaii, okay? And people can argue, till the cows come home. They don't like you. Now in Cambodia, you don't have that problem because it's just a totally different thing. Actually, they love the French and they absolutely hate the Thais and the Vietnamese. So, but in Thailand, they have this pan-Orientalism. Like Thailand is leading all these East and Southeast Asian
Yeah,
people in their
but
fight.
Thailand is good for tourism at least. I mean,
Yeah, you
and a
come
little
there
fun. Yeah,
2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you get out. But it's like you don't get any respect as a Caucasian person. They constantly make fun of you. They constantly humiliate you. They constantly talk shit about you. It's kind of like Hawaii. Hate the howling day.
I'm,
That's Thailand. Okay, and then you said Vietnam. I was
well, hold
only
on,
there
hold
for
on, hold
one
on,
week.
hold on, hold on. Well, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Thailand, and a lot of Westerns go there. I mean, we're talking about the women, the Thai women. I mean, it's almost dating paradise there. You get to Thailand, and I mean, there's women that are coming up to you and talking to you, and I had a girlfriend in Bangkok, and I lived with her, and she wasn't prejudiced or biased against me. And
Okay, anecdotal evidence.
okay,
Not
but
inapplicable.
we're
Inapplicable. Anything anecdotal is inapplicable. What you're okay? Let me ask you this question: Do you speak Thai?
I don't. Well, we're talking about legal status. And
Oh,
okay,
so you don't speak Thai.
I
So you
completely
don't know what
understand.
they're saying. You
When,
don't know what they're saying. They're saying constant shit about white people in Thai. If you what you
Oh,
were living
really?
in, it's not Thailand. It was a bubble.
Do you
You were
speak
living
Thai?
in a bubble. I was in Thailand too. Women come up to you, but again, you don't know what kind of women they are. Usually it's the women that the Thais don't want. Okay?
Mhm.
So this is the same in Japan. Again, again, again. This is anecdotal. When you start saying things like, well, I never had any problem, it's like,
Mhm.
that's just one person.
But I'm sure there's exceptions to every rule too.
Yeah, and you experienced an exception. You had a girlfriend, but notice another thing. You don't speak Thai. You have absolutely zero idea of what's going on. Can you imagine coming to America and not speaking English? Now, how much of America will you
Yeah.
understand? How
But it
much
could
will
be
you?
that they just like it, like Andrew, because he acts very humble or something, and so
Yeah,
it,
again, it's
he's not
like,
a typical American.
yeah, again, there we can speculate until the cows come home. But I'm just saying, if you don't speak the language, if you don't speak Thai, which I do, okay, you have absolutely zero idea of what's going on. I met one Japanese guy that I knew, okay, and he came with money to America, and guess what? He could not speak a word of English. Okay, maybe a few words. Maybe he could buy something. He has no freaking idea what America is all about. He has no knowledge. He liked it. He loved it. And then, do you speak English?
Mhm.
No, zero. Okay. Now, how much would you understand America? And it's the same thing. Once you learn the language, oh, you will see what's really going on
Did you
there.
learn Thai, Ladislav? I mean, wow,
Yes, of
that must be
course.
hard to learn.
I did. I studied it very seriously for 6 months.
Wow,
And that
you
was the
must be
reason why
talented.
I left, because I realized how much hatred they were piling on me daily with insults, mockery, constant
But do
mockery.
most Americans experience that too? I mean, if
If
they,
they speak Thai, they do, but most of them don't. It's like, again, I'm trying to explain to you, how would you know what's going on if you don't know what the hell they're talking about?
yeah. Well, what do you think of Vietnam? I mean, do you have any
Mama
impressions?
was there for only 1 week. Okay, so I can only give a very brief impression. Okay, what I found in Vietnam is that there were more men than women everywhere. Okay, and they were very aggressive, trying to sell things to you, trying to, peddle things to you,
Mhm.
trying for you to
But they
buy
like
things.
foreigners there. Do they like Americans?
Okay, I did not. The thing is, okay, I'll give you this weird shit that happened to me there. I decided to take a tour, a motorcycle tour. Meaning it's a weird thing. You sit in the back of a motorcycle, and the motorcycle driver takes you around Saigon and gives you a tour. Can you imagine that? You don't have that in the States,
Hmm.
but regardless. Okay, so basically, he took me around, and I was passing by this park, and I see this man, and this man saw me, right? And his face turned livid. His face turned livid, and he shouted at me, "Stupid French!"
Uh-huh.
Fucking idiot, and then he was about to get into a fight. So generally, I did not get the impression that they were that friendly. My impression was they want tourists to come for a short time, spend money there, and buzz off, and that's it, basically. The ones who stay there are subject to a lot of restrictions. Again, there'll be anecdotal exceptions of people saying, "Oh, yes, but I have a friend who's
Mhm.
been here for a long time,
But
blah,
but the
blah,
thing
blah." And
but the
that's
thing
not
is,
my point. I've got a friend, who is, Elon Musk, and he's in America, and he's a trillionaire. Look, Elon Musk made all that money. That means you can too. Anecdotal exceptions.
yeah, but keep in mind that we're all unique, eccentric people, so we don't fit the average American. So it
Yeah,
could
but
be that
we also
if
don't.
Andrew fits into Asia or Thailand, that he may be treated
Again,
differently than the average American.
But Andrew still cannot change his race. Whether he is humble or not humble, he's still a farang. It's like in the States. Think about black people, right? Whether you're nice or not nice, humble or not humble, there's
Mhm.
still a name that people give to you. and it has
Yeah, but I
nothing
mean,
to do
certain.
with
It's also about the vibe you give off too, right? It's not just the race.
not proven. Okay, not okay. So basically, with that vibe, what you're going to tell me is that people are guilty now. That's victim blaming. That's like saying that this
Hmm.
school shooting was because these girls were giving out a vibe. Okay, no, it's not proven scientifically. No, I mean, of course, if
No,
you
no,
are
I
like
mean metaphysically too, or spiritually. I
not
mean,
proven, not proven, it's victim blaming. It's blaming people for how other people respond to them. No, other people are also an independent variable. Okay? So let's not, it's like saying, oh, yeah, so the Nazis killed the Jews because of the attitude. It was the Jewish attitude, and the Nazis are not guilty of killing them. Okay? Or like saying in Rwanda, the genocide, the 500 million people that involved kids, no, 500,000 people or whatever, 500,000 people died. And that meant kids and innocent women. It was all their vibe that created that. No, stop,
no, no, I
stop.
don't mean vibe, but I just mean personality too. Like for example, in China, some Americans can't fit into Chinese culture at all, and some can. So it depends on
Yes.
their how well they fit into the culture and
Yeah, but
also the
race also
personality and
matters.
vibe too.
Race also matters. If you're
Okay.
a black guy and you go start looking for a job, you won't get a job. No matter your personality. Okay, yeah, it can help, but you're discounting the power of fucking prejudice, racial prejudice. Okay, it's a powerful force, and it has nothing to do with your personality. It has everything to do with their prejudices against you.
Yeah.
Like a Thai person, I'm just walking down the street. Suddenly, they went and ballistic, start screaming, farang, 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 farang. I didn't do anything. Now, you're telling me it's my vibes. I say no. I disagree. I had no vibes. I was
But
just
I know
walking.
this black guy who's a new age guy. He said when he was in China, he never experienced any racism at all because he was so
Because he didn't
positive
notice.
and
He didn't notice. It's a lot of people who got blinkers on.
yeah,
He
and
didn't
new age
notice.
people always say that anyways.
They're liars. Okay, they didn't know what. What are they going to say that they experienced racism? That will make them lose face. That'll make them appear that they took a wrong decision by going to China. Who's going to admit that? So they will say I never had any problem. But a lot of the time, they just don't notice it. A lot of things with these Oriental people, they don't show. You need to be aware of the body language, but sometimes you see eyes rolling up, you see the face turning livid, you see eyes like avoiding you, passive aggressive behavior,
I
this
want to say something.
microaggression, this
I want to.
Yeah,
microaggression,
it's subtle.
and they
Yeah.
don't see it. They don't see it. Okay, I'll give you this example. I was in Thailand and I was with this German guy, and we went to buy some jewels or something, and we had a credit card, or I had a credit card, I don't remember. And then the thing is, some of the credit cards were Thai, American Express was Thai, and some of the credit cards were outside, like American credit cards. And we walk into a store, and you can see the resentment on those people's faces. They see us, two white guys walk in, and immediately you see like the nostrils widen and the eyes look down. They didn't say anything. They did not call me a white devil, but you could see by the facial expressions already that they don't like you. Okay? Then you could see like a lot of people just turn away and all this. Now, I
But
looked at my German friend. He didn't notice any of that.
Uh-huh.
Zero. He didn't notice the microaggression. He
Right.
did
Maybe you're
not,
more sensitive to it.
but I could because I see those things.
But at
I
least you
see
can
things
find
that
one or
hurt.
two girls that likes you and that's enough though, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, everywhere you go with a girl, okay, there are people giving dirty looks at her, and she says, I'm tired of people's eyes looking at me reproachfully. But if you don't see it, then you don't see it.
Yeah, when I was in Russia, I experienced racist vibes against me too. But I mean, I still had fun because I fit into the culture and there was good energy and chemistry and a
Yeah,
lot of
but
happy-go-lucky people.
how long did you stay there?
Well, I could stay for a few months
Okay,
and
that's
have a good
different.
time, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend staying there long term because
You
there's
see,
a dark
that's
side to it too, of course.
exactly what I mean. Once you start living there, you can also end up getting beat up or killed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just
You know,
saying you can have fun for a few months at least.
a lot of people in Kazakhstan, the longer you stay there, the more you increase your chances of something bad happening. And that is one thing, that people don't realize. So one thing, don't confuse tourism with immigration.
Right, right. I just mean like for flirting or dating. I
Oh,
mean, it can
yeah,
still be
that's
fun for
a
a few months.
whole different ball game. And you go to Thailand, and another thing, a very important thing, if you don't understand the language and you don't know what the fuck they're saying, you have no right to make
Yeah.
any
Maybe
comment.
it's better you don't know then. Some things are better not known.
Exactly. Like when I was in Thailand, I went on a 2 week holiday. Went on a 2 week holiday. I loved it. And then I went to Thailand and said, I'm going to start studying Thai. And I studied it very, very seriously. For 6 months, it was a nonstop course, nonstop study. And after 6 months to a year, I was fluent. The next 2.5 years, it was pretty much hell because it was constant fucking verbal abuse in
Yeah, but
Thai.
anywhere you go, there's always going to be people that don't like you. I mean, that's true of
Oh, yeah.
anywhere.
Okay, nice. Okay, nice relativism. Okay, the percentage, the frequency is going to be different. Okay, do you want to
Hmm.
experience it once every 3 months, or you want
La-
to experience it
Ladislav,
three
what were some of the
times a day?
what were some of the things they were saying that you could understand in Thai?
Okay, good questions. It's like saying, how much is he paying you, for example, to a girl,
That is so
or
rude.
even to a guy who is with you, or like a girl is walking, even a Thai guy walking with a white girl, and then suddenly they start screaming, "How much is she paying him?" Like that. Then why do you choose a Farang? No Thai wants you.
It's so small-minded.
Yeah, like the thing is, it starts. It's kind of like, what's the word? I'm trying to see it. It edges you like slowly. It starts grating on your nerves. If it happens once, twice when you're a guest, that's one thing. But if you live there, it becomes constant. Then they constantly tell, shit like, okay, for example, the Farangs raped Thai women. The Farangs brought AIDS. Your country this, your country that. I hate the Farang. In Thai. And it's like, I hate Farangs like this. But if you don't speak Thai, you don't understand what's going on. Like, imagine, let's reverse the roles. Let's say there's a East Asian person walking in, working in the States. And let's say in Ohio, when I was living there, I knew, people that worked in Chinese restaurants. There were Koreans and Chinese. Their job was to mix fucking noodles all day long, and serve them to the customer. Now, if I come up to him, to that Chinese person, and I say to him, "Listen, you yellow man. Listen, you narrow eyed man. Okay, listen, you zipperhead." Will he get offended? No, because he doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Do you realize that? Do you see the equivalent?
I do, yeah, but
Okay, and this is exactly, what I always
Yeah.
found, like these Asian people, Japanese tourists, they loved America. They come and they say the people are so kind, but they could not speak English. They had no fucking idea what went on. Now, imagine I walk into an Asian restaurant somewhere and I say something like, "You slit-eyed Jap," or something like this. But he does not understand the word slit eye. He does not understand the word jab, and they say, "Listen, you chink," or something like this, but he doesn't know what that word means. Of course, he's not going to be offended. Now Now imagine with black people. I've seen black people from Africa. They came to the United States and they loved it. They said the people are just so friendly here. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you shitting me? And then they say, "Oh no, they're just lovely people. I love them. I love America." I think the people here are just absolutely beautiful because they don't understand the words they were using. It's like if I, and they don't know what the people think about them deep inside. They had no fucking idea. That's it. So you need to
But
find out.
is it like that? But it's not like that in the Philippines at all.
No, absolutely not. The reason is okay, not zero. Okay, the reason in the Philippines is that first of all they're half Spanish anyway. Okay, so like half Latin American. So when you are in the Philippines with Filipino people, they're Catholics and they all have Spanish family somewhere, and somebody in their family is married to a foreigner or some kind, to an American, or living in the States, or working in the States or studying in the States. The connection is huge. So when you enter into the picture, just one more person in their international tapestry of life. Okay. Now, with a Thai, the Vietnamese, the Japanese, and all the other E's, you know what I'm saying? It's always problematic. Always problematic. And if you end up staying like in Japan for 2 or 3 years without leaving the place, you just go crazy. You're surrounded by this mass of people who are of a different race. It's a sea of people who don't look like you, who react to you, in an adverse way. For example, you walk up to someone and you want to ask for directions, and they recoil from you. It all starts getting on your nerves after a while. Like I had a friend who was an African guy, black dude, and he went to a local bathhouse. In Japan, they have bathhouses where everybody bathes together. And as he climbed into the pool, where everyone, all the Japanese just got out screaming and ran away. After that, he was so affected by it, he says, "You know what? It fucks up your mind." And then he was as soon as he could, he left the country.
Jeez,
This
just
is the
because of the water?
Yes, yes. You see, but if you don't stay there long enough, you don't know the shit that goes on.
It's true. I went into a fitness place in Okinawa and they saw a tattoo on my arm and they said, "You can't come in here because you have tattoos." And they said,
Oh,
another
well,
time, another time, because Japanese people, they don't like tattoos, except, some people. And another time I went into, or I wanted to go into a bar or some place in Tokyo and, they saw me, they said, "You can't come in here because you're not Japanese." So
oh
they,
yeah, that's just normal. That's just normal, and nothing. No one can do anything about it because you see, when if you tell them that I wanted to go into a nightclub, they're not going to like it. At work, no one is going to sue, even though this is technically illegal in Japan since 2016. No one is going to sue them because what were you trying to go? You were trying to go into a hooker bar.
sure. You know what? But I still love Japan, even though I'm going to go back there. I love the country still. It's like what you're saying, though. You stay there long enough, and then you. But for a lot of us that are just fed up with America, we're fed up with the bullshit that we're willing to go. We're willing to stay in those countries, even with like I'm willing to go back to Thailand and stay there, even with what you're saying that they will talk trash to me. I'm willing to put up with that.
especially you don't know what they're saying. No,
Yeah.
but
Well,
the
as long
thing
as you're
is, look,
happy. I mean,
the thing is this, if you don't know what they're saying, it's not going to affect you. But the thing is this, you're not supposed to stay in those countries 100% of the time, all the time. America has many bad things and a lot of bullshit. But as far as its infrastructure is concerned, it's wonderful. Getting credit cards here, having a bank account here, having real estate, like all these practical things in America, or a source of a stream of income, they're just not accessible in those countries. You know what I'm saying? So what you do, and then once in a while, you do need to come back and just feel the anonymity that, when you walk down the street, you just don't stick out. It's as simple as that. You know that you fit in, and you just need it. Otherwise, you'll be affected by it. The thing is, you see, yeah, there's a lot of bullshit in America. That's why you combine it with other countries. It doesn't mean you eliminate it. You simply combine it, and with American money, American passport, American credit. Just even like talking about credit. Like right now, I don't have much cash. I picked up like 2 or 3 credit cards, and I went to Mexico for 3 weeks. Eventually, I paid them off. Like in a lot of those countries, no one will give you any credit. It's just impossible.
yeah. Yeah. You
So a
called it
lot of these
quilting or
things.
something. Yeah.
So what you do is like, the idea is not to like leave America behind. You leave the social problems. Most problems in America are social now. And you leave the social problems behind. You attach another country to America, and everything is fine. Everything is gold. No one is anti-American. I'm not anti-American. Anti-American is usually your anti-U.S. government. Gosh, I'm not anti-U.S. government. I'm a really good government, but all these fucked up social problems. So you move, you just get away from those and you add another, you become like a human multinational.
Yeah. You called it quilting, and
Right.
plus it's yeah,
You
and
quilt.
it's plus you appreciate what you have more when you experience the opposite
Oh,
too.
yeah. The thing is in a lot of these countries, like these countries, they're all nice. They'll give you jack shit. They'll give you nothing. They'll give you nothing. Nothing. Okay. And once your money runs out, you're a piece of shit. Get out. They're just, those countries are products. Products to be bought, rented, enjoyed, blah, blah, blah. They don't want your ass there if you're poor. The only one, basically. So you realize that they're a product, and a service. And then, everything falls into place and you enjoy them. If you start thinking that they're better than the States, you see, the States is not a product. It's a mechanism to advance, to invest. And there are lots of business people here that will help you out. There are all these student fucking loans. There are all these, there are always ways for you to succeed. It's not as good as Europe, but it's still pretty good. In those other countries, Thailand, Nicaragua, Mexico, you run out of money. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. And no one will help you there. Amen. And this concludes my sermon for today.
Wow, I love your voice.
There.
It's so melodramatic.
Yeah, thanks. And then they'll give you jack shit there. There's nothing there for you. Their countries, their entire cultures are designed to make sure you don't succeed, to make sure you're not competition for them, because they don't want your ass there. They just want you as long as the flow of money goes in one direction out of your pocket and into theirs. That's what they want. They write on those brochures. Oh, they're friendly people. They're beautiful people. They're so sincere. They're so hospitable. Yep, as long as you have the money to be there. Their hospitality is paid hospitality, and it will soon dissipate once your money dissipates. That's how it is.
I
But
love your brutal honesty. It's so refreshing.
yeah, but the thing is, look, but that's also good because you know that you only need money to be there, nothing else.
Well, it helps to be likable too, and
Yeah, but if you have no money and you're likable, nobody likes your likability. Get the fuck out.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of success stories. For example, I've met Americans who have a successful businesses. Those countries, people from Australia, they've opened successful businesses. So there are success stories.
Where?
Well, in Thailand and Vietnam.
Yes, okay, but yes, absolutely. Remember, anecdotes don't prove anything. Anecdotes don't prove anything, okay? For every one successful story like that, there's usually, 100 of unsuccessful ones,
yeah,
which
yeah.
are not, and they, yes, I realize that there is also a story of an immigrant who came to America and made $1 million, blah, blah, blah. There's always something fishy in those stories, like in Thailand, he opened up the salon, he opened this up. Usually there's a big fucking outlay of money. Something very, very something, something, something. Usually they don't want someone to come and on just do things on an entrepreneurial base. Like you came alone, you opened up, because Thailand is being run by this military elite, and the idea of Westerners coming in and becoming successful through individual efforts is seen as a threat. See? And usually it's not allowed to happen unless probably you have a Thai wife that helped you, and usually in many cases it's usually a Thai wife and it's in her name. Because as a Westerner, you have no as a foreigner, you have no ownership rights. So you have all these stories, and I've heard of this person where anecdotes don't prove anything. And if you get to the bottom of the matter, there's usually either a Thai partner, a wife, or there is, a lot of money. He just started a
But
huge company. He went into partnership with someone. But if you come alone with like $50,000, $60,000 and you want to buy a bar, buy something, most of the time you won't succeed. The thing is, I realize there are success stories, but I'd rather err on the side of caution because I used to listen to anecdotes. Like I'd say, one half of my life I listened to these successful anecdotes. So Mr. So and so invested and he became successful, and then I tried to repeat the same formula, and it didn't work. Okay. So now I err on the side of caution.
how are the Chinese able to succeed in business there? I mean, do they have some secret or
They're Oriental.
Oh, you're talking about the Chinese that came in the fucking 1950s. And they arrived, and the first step is for one generation to mix fucking noodles for 40 years and save money.
They got they have Chinatown in Saigon. There's a Chinatown district where the Chinese came, many years ago, and they opened restaurants.
Yeah, but everything that a Chinese person does, first of all, is done with a big family normally. And then they give themselves a good 20 years to save up money. Okay? They're very patient people. They say, okay, 20 years. So they're going to be working 15 hours a
Mhm.
day for 20 years,
Oh,
saving money, then reinvesting, saving money, then reinvesting. Then the next
Right.
generation does even more. The next generation does even
It's a
more.
long-term thing for them.
It's a long-term thing. Winston, come on. You come from a Chinese family. You could tell them what your parents came what? And they
Whereas,
spent 30 years working in the USA, right?
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
long-term thing. And then the children are born and they take a degree like a doctorate or something. And then the grandchildren are born and they're even smarter. It's like a three-generation thing. So you have these, oh yeah, those Chinese, look at them, they own Thailand. Yeah, after four generations, after what, 75 years? And you want to do it what, also in 75 years? And still not all Chinese succeed. You go to Malaysia, yes, there are rich Chinese, but there are also many poor ones, and you never hear of them. They're the ones still selling fucking noodles on the street.
You know what?
Right.
I wish we had more time to hear you talk about China. What do you think of? And if you think
Oh, I've
China,
never been there. I've never lived there. So
okay.
I'm not qualified. But you know what? Rock knows about China. So maybe Rock could give him. Jesus Christ, I spent 1 hour and
Oh yeah,
46
he
minutes.
knows about China, but he's more negative about it than I am. Though. I mean,
I think no, he used to be much more positive. He loved it there. Yeah, but
no, he likes Taiwan, but he doesn't like China that
he
much.
doesn't like communist China. I mean, they're just becoming, the thing is, remember, communist China is a communist country, with a communist party at the helm, with a red star, red flag. Come on, and the same in Vietnam. I don't know why Americans want to go and live, unless there is a very serious business opportunity, why they want to go and live in China, Vietnam, and all this. I
No, and
can't.
the U.S. media is so negative about China too. I mean, they say nothing but bad things and exaggerate.
I believe that, and I'm sure the
But it's an
Chinese.
interesting place. I mean, it has, a huge culture and land, and it's a big world in China.
Oh
It's very
yeah,
interesting to visit. I mean, not necessary to live, but it's nice to visit. And
spend time. Yeah,
a lot of countries are like that. I mean, they're nice to visit, but not necessarily to live. But I would say the Philippines is an exception. It's a nice place to stay long term and to visit short term.
it's a good place to die. In Cambodia, you know what I didn't like in Cambodia. I'll tell you, outside of just very scant opportunities for dating. I mean, you could. There are girls but it's just so old fashioned. It's like all these girls are virgins. They want to get married, and you need to put out like 5 to 10 to $20,000 for the wedding. But anyway, going back to what was I talking about? To the problem, another problem in Cambodia is that there's no reprieve from the heat. There's no place to go to hide from that heat. In the Philippines, you got Baguio, you got the Cordillera, you got all these mountain provinces where you can run away when it's hot. In Cambodia, there are only some hills, but there's just no place to run away from. That heat, too. It's just terrible.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's very hot.
It's like Saudi Arabia, it's like, and the funny thing is that in the Philippines, there is the monsoon season, right? So you wait until that monsoon season arrives, and then you kind of say, "Oh, right, it's now end of June, and then the rain starts falling, and then it's cool until the end of the year, probably." It's just, then it goes into the cool season right after the monsoon. Now, in Cambodia, it's like, wait a minute, July came, it's not raining. August came, it's not raining. What the hell is going on? Then it's like November 1st, you go inside and it's like 40 degrees centigrade. What the fuck is going on? It's just not, and that was one of the problems. That's my one of my gripes about Cambodia. It's just too bloody hot.
Right, right.
And you just need to live with that heat forever.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's the same in Thailand too. So
No, in
someone
Thailand,
like Andrew is used to that.
you
So.
have Chiang Mai in Thailand. You have the mountain provinces in Thailand.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
You have Chiang Mai. You don't have Chiang Mai in Cambodia. They have
Yeah,
some.
Chiang Mai is like Baguio.
Yes. You have all these mountain provinces.
Southeast Asia is such an adventurous place. It's a beautiful region of the world. I love it. But even with what you're saying, the heat, some of the problems with the people perceiving you as lesser status. I'll take those problems all day long rather than live in America. Sorry, that's
Yeah,
just my
but
opinion.
you see, okay. What I'm trying to say is that it's different from being a visitor. It's different from being a resident. So far, everything you've seen there has been a visitor, okay, by a visitor. So it's great to be there as a visitor for even 6 months, even a year. Even if you take like an extended stay for 1 year, it's excellent. It's just like when I went to Mexico, I loved it. But remember, you're a visitor. You're not working. You're not trying to make a living there. You're not sharing daily bread, and you don't know what they're saying. And that's the most important thing. You have no fucking idea what they're saying. Now, it's like think of all the black slurs for black people that exist. Think of all the terrible words. Now, imagine you don't understand even one of them. Imagine you're a black person from Africa that arrived who doesn't speak English and who will not understand even one of those words. He won't understand the N word. He won't understand the C word. He won't understand the K word. Nothing. He will not understand a word. Okay? He'll just see people saying something, bing, bong, bong, ding, dong, dong, tra la la, and he won't understand the word. That is where you are when you go to Southeast Asia.
Yeah. But
You
ladies,
don't.
love, I'm sure like the white men that go to Thailand who become Buddhist monks like Ajahn Brahm, I'm sure
They
they get a lot of respect,
Yeah,
right?
but again, it's like you always hear stories about Thais harassing him and complaining, why is this Farang even here? He has no right to be
What
here.
you mean Ajahn Brahm gets that too?
I have no idea, but I've already met monks.
You
I
know who
mean,
he is, right? He's that famous Australian monk in
okay, but
Thailand.
does he
He's
speak?
on YouTube doing a lot
Does
of
he speak?
lectures.
Again,
I
look,
mean, they get more respect, right? Because they're monks and
they get less scorn. Let's put it this way.
you
But
mean
if the hold on. If the prejudice and the bias is so strong in Thailand, then why are there so many marriages between Thai women? And I'm talking about legitimate marriages between Thai women and men from England, the UK, Australia. Wouldn't the women?
Okay, you want to hear the answer? Okay. A certain percentage of Thais are prejudiced, right? But a certain percentage of Thais is not. Okay. So it's not like 100% of Thais are prejudiced, but let's say
right?
30% prejudiced. That's already a very unpleasant number. Okay. Now, again, okay, that's the first thing. Okay. And 70% of them are not. Okay, how many people are racist in the United States? How many percent? Would you say it's maybe 30, 40%? I'd say so. What about the other 60%? These are not prejudiced. That's why you have a lot of biracial marriages in the United States in spite of the American racism, because not 100% of Americans are racist. Okay. Now,
Right.
second, if you see marriages, okay, there's one pattern that you'll notice. Okay, if you go to Thailand, they're the women the Thai men do not want. Okay, always. Why? Too smart, too old meaning past 25. Okay, and not pretty enough. To a British guy, she's pretty. To a Thai, she's not. Okay? Just another smart ass, uppity woman. No Thai wants her, so she wants a farang. Okay? Third, okay, as I said, again, let's repeat, not 100% of Thai people are farang haters. So they concentrate on the part of the population that is friendly to them. And there's enough in a country of what, 80 million, 70, 80 million people? But they have to deal with the other 30%. Okay? Okay, if you go to the countryside in Thailand, smaller towns, and people are a little bit friendlier and they're willing to enter into marriage if you pay. This is another thing that they don't mention. You need to pay the family, and the more you pay, the easier it is to marry. So let's say if you find a girl you like, they can charge, the family will charge a bright price, and without it you can't get married. We're talking like what? Could be $20,000, could be $30,000, usually to the tune of $8,000 to $10,000. This is what those people don't tell you. So once you pay the price, they're much greedier than they are racist. They'll take the money and they'll marry their daughter to the devil himself. Okay? That's one thing people don't realize it. And the final verdict. They don't speak the language and they don't know what the hell the locals are saying. They just hear ding dong dong ding dong dong. Nothing else. They have no idea what the villagers are saying about them. They're just seeing smiles and people saying bing bong bong ding dong dong. Okay. That's
There's no
it.
political correctness there.
They don't know what they're saying. Okay, a Thai came up to me, smiled, and said bing bong bong ding dong dong. What did he say? He said, "You white pig, get the hell out and leave our women alone." But he said it in Thai, and you didn't know what he was saying. So, again, to conclude, yes, there are people that marry them because not 100% of Thais are prejudiced. Now, if it was like, if you were, if you were had racism in South Africa, where you have a black man coming to a Boer Afrikaner town and wanting to marry a girl, how many would be prejudiced against that man? 100%. 100%. I guarantee you. They'll probably kill him there too. The
Jeez.
Boers will just kill him. Okay, and then that's not the case of Thailand. It's not as strong. Okay. How about if you go to the Appalachian as a black man and in some, coal mining town, walk into this small white KKK town and start courting a girl? The prejudice will be what, total 99, 100%. But in Thailand, it'll probably be 30%. But to me, it's still too high. If it's not too high for you, go ahead. Okay,
Well,
gentlemen, it's been 2 hours.
all right. Well,
Yeah.
it was great. It was great. A lot of information. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay,
Yeah, I
Winston,
love
maybe
this. It was great.